Well, I'm going to try and do my best to get through this because my little 2-year-old daughter has brought home all the germs from preschool. And if you can't tell, I am sick and barely have a voice. But I saw this thing pop up that I wanted to read and possibly bring in some like real world touring application to this. There was an article that popped up in my feed recently that said 13 rock and metal artists who were banned from countries. Before reading this, I don't know if this specifically means the members of the band are banned from entering that country or the music itself is banned, but I think we can go down this list and I can actually apply some of my experience from touring with this too, because every country has their different rules about who can come in and you know, who they admit to their country. So if we're talking about this in the sense of band members being banned, they might have stuff on their criminal records or have done things in the past that are preventing them from touring in certain countries. If it has to do with the music itself, that might be a little different, but let's check this out and see what we got. But real quick, I want to take a quick second to talk to you guys about the sponsor of this video, NordVPN. You've probably heard of NordVPN. They're the fastest VPN on the planet, and they're the VPN that I choose to use whether I'm on tour or at home. And VPNs are great because at the click of a button, you can mask your IP address and stay hidden online. And you can even stay closer to home and use a VPN to watch your favorite streaming services. But my personal favorite thing about NordVPN, you get access to their threat protection feature. With threat protection, you're going to get protected from malware, ransomware, man-in-the-middle attacks, a ton of other stuff. It has an ad blocker built in, and if you're using it on your mobile device, it will even alert you if you're trying to sign on to a sketchy Wi-Fi network. So if you want to pump up your personal online security while getting all of the benefits of the fastest VPN on the planet, head over to nordvpn.com/tankthetech for a very exclusive offer. They've got a 2-year plan where they will give you 4 additional months for free. And if there's anybody out there that is skeptical about all of this, they offer a full 30-day money-back guarantee. So what have you really got to lose? One more time, you can head over to nordvpn.com/tankthetech. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And thank you once again to the sponsor of this video, NordVPN. First one on the list is Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin is banned, or was banned, in Singapore. In the 1960s, the country enacted a ban on long hair on men, which amounted to a locked door for rock bands like Led Zeppelin. The band wasn't even allowed to leave their private jet once they landed in the country, and they had to turn around and zoom back to England. Like, Led Zeppelin being banned from Singapore is on a technicality. They banned long hair for all men. So really, any band with a member with long hair could have gone there and wouldn't been able to play. So it's kind of a technicality, but Singapore is strict on a lot of things currently in 2023. The next band on the list is Cannibal Corpse, and it says they're banned in Germany, Australia, and Russia. Now, I do remember seeing recently that their book, I think they had like a coloring book that was banned in Germany. I saw that, but I didn't know about their music in general. This says Australia halted the sale of any of the band's material for a decade due to their graphic content starting in 1996. The sale of their first 3 records as well as live performances of those songs were banned in Germany until 2006 because of graphic content. Even today, their music is only sold to those that are 18 and older. Russia is a trickier situation, however, as the group endured a tumultuous 2014 tour where 6 of 8 shows were canceled due to religious protesters. Their music is also forbidden to be translated into Russian and distributed within the country, and the artwork is banned as well. Out of this list, it seems like Russia is the only one that they still would probably have an issue in. I mean, according to this article, it was 1996 to 2006 in Australia. Doesn't exactly look like they're fully banned, like I think this article is leading to suggest. I'm not surprised to see Russia on there due to religious protesters, because I do know that bands like Behemoth have also had issues with that in countries like Russia. So I imagine we're going to see Behemoth on this list at some point too.
10 seconds later.
And like I said, we were going to see Behemoth. Now we have Behemoth. In 2014, Behemoth lined up a 13-date tour of Russia, but it was cut short when the Polish black and death metal battalion was detained and eventually deported. Behemoth faced a 5-year ban. So right now in 2023, it does not see that they are banned. And Behemoth is one of those bands that they do have a lot of problems in a lot of places they go. I know that like every time they come back from a tour, you know, in the US or Europe or whatever, they come back to their home country of Poland, Nurgle gets like summoned to court for like blasphemy and stuff because the religious laws in some of those countries are pretty strict, which I find ridiculous, but that's just my opinion. But I will say, to be fair, and I've said this before, Nurgle stokes the fire quite a bit. He, to me, is like the complete other side of the coin of the diehard, like conservative religious fanatics that he claims he hates. He's like the same thing in the opposite form. To me, can be just as annoying as those super diehard religious fanatics. Like he even got busted in the US once, or not busted, but like caught lying. They went into a YMCA on a day off from tour, and he claimed that he got kicked out for wearing a Dark Throne t-shirt. It was found out later that just never happened. Like he made it all up. And then when people called him out on it, he was just like, oh, I purposely did this just to teach you guys a lesson that you can't believe everything you read on the internet. I'm like, okay, dude. While I do think the Behemoth gets some unfair treatment a lot of the time just based on their imagery and their music and stuff, he definitely stirs the pot on his own at times too. Wow. This says that the Beatles were banned in Israel. British pop singer Cliff Richard caused widespread hysteria within the country a year prior, and the powers that be refused to deal with that again, resulting in a 1964 ban of the Beatles. In 2008, the Israeli ambassador to Britain handed a letter of apology to Julia Baird, sister of the late John Lennon, for snubbing the band over 4 decades earlier. So according to this, the Beatles are no longer banned in Israel. They just had a ban starting in the 60s because they thought that their youth would be corrupted by their music, which is hilarious because I have never personally listened to the Beatles and felt like I was going to get corrupted or want to do any kind of crazy behavior at all. The Rolling Stones have been banned in Japan. In 1973, the Stones booked out a tour hitting territories they'd neglected in recent years with Japan, set for their first ever dose of the band in concert. Those dreams were shattered on January 27th when Mick Jagger's prior drug convictions prevented the Rolling Stones from gaining entry into the land of the rising sun. Okay, so this is our first moment where we actually have a case of a band member having an issue and not getting into a specific country. And that is a big thing that we deal with on tour all the time. As a tour manager, that's something I have to deal with every single tour, no matter what. I have to make sure ahead of time, and I know to some people that this can be kind of embarrassing, but I have to check with all the band and the crew if they have priors on their record, because there are certain charges in certain countries that they just will not accept you no matter what. Canada, for example, just north of the US, I don't know why I had to say that. Everybody probably knows that, but I say that because it's close. We go into Canada for shows all the time. Canada does have some very strict rules regarding entry. Like if you have a DUI or like a driving while impaired charge or anything like that on your record, like you are not getting in. And it could have been from 30 years ago. Now, there are steps you can take, and there's paperwork you can get, or you can pay for a temporary residency permit or something like that. So there have been times where I've had guys at the border pay like $300 or $400 to get into Canada on the spot, but it's because they had charges on their record. I've shared with you guys before, I had a charge from my record when I was like 19 years old. It's been over 15 years. And while it's been erased from my record, international borders can still see it. So when I travel, I still have to have paperwork with me. I've never been denied entry to any country. So I have my stuff in order. It's not a big deal, but there are other people that don't, and they're not even aware. On my last tour, we had a bus driver that had a felony charge from like 40 years ago that he wasn't even aware that he couldn't get into Canada. So in that situation on tour, I had to get a replacement driver to get us into Canada and then get us back out and meet up with us. So there's a lot of things that go into that. I mean, I've seen guys held at the border in Canada for stuff as simple as back child support payments, like if they're late. It is not surprising especially with the Rolling Stones, to know that one of them had like a drug charge and couldn't get into a country, because that is the thing. Lamb of God is banned in Malaysia. A 2013 concert in Malaysia was a no-go for Lamb of God as they were banned from performing in the country due to blasphemous content, purportedly due to the mentioning of the Quran in the intro to the Philadelphia 2005 live album. So this doesn't necessarily say if they're still banned now, but one of their concerts was canceled due to what Malaysia deemed as blasphemous content. This one, I don't believe. This says Rammstein banned in Germany. This has got to be mega specific. This has got to be like they couldn't have the music video for like or something like anywhere. Like we know damn well that Rammstein is not banned in Germany. This says their song irked the federal office for the examination of media harmful to young people who claimed it encouraged unprotected sex despite the risk of AIDS. As a result, the industrial outfit's 2009 effort, Liebe ist für alle da, was prevented from being advertised or displayed openly in a manner that is acceptable to those under the age of 18. Okay, under the age of 18. So minors couldn't see some of their stuff. I mean, we have video game ratings. We have movie ratings. That's not really a ban. The Kinks banned in the USA. I'm curious about this one because I don't know anything about this. During their peak creative period, the Kinks were unable to tour one of the world's most crucial music markets, America. The Kinks had destructive onstage habits. They retaliated against a promoter who had tried to bail on them and made a disastrous TV appearance. The American Federation of Musicians refused to grant the Kinks work permits to tour the US because of this behavior. Their ban lasted from 1965 through 1969. Well, yeah, it was the fucking 60s. Meanwhile, in 2013, we have crowd killing and hardcore dancing. Seems like destructive crowd participation and onstage habits aren't really a big deal anymore. But again, that's not necessarily a ban. They just refuse to give them work permits to tour the US. That happens a lot for a lot of different reasons. So I don't consider that a ban. Sabaton's been banned in Russia. Sabaton's lyrical themes about war found the Swedish band in the crosshairs of the Russian government in 2013 as the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Stalingrad event neared. Deemed Nazi sympathizers due to their lyrics, Sabaton were swiftly removed from the bill, which was a shock to the band. Sabaton is and always has been a non-political, non-religious band and holds a lot of respect to the veterans of war and the heroic and non-selfish acts that was performed in a time of need, an official statement read. Yeah, I think anybody with a brain or that anybody that took the time to listen to Sabaton knows that these guys are not glorifying war or sympathizing with Nazis or anything. They're literally making music and videos about historical moments in war. I mean, I fucking hung out with these guys. Like, they are the farthest thing from Nazis I could ever fucking imagine. I do remember hearing about a lot of this stuff where they get a lot of backlash sometimes about their songs because people think because they made a song about like the German army in World War II that they're Nazi sympathizers and stuff, where it's not. I mean, by that logic, that's anybody that teaches history about Nazi Germany is a Nazi sympathizer. Like, according to that logic, it's just kind of ridiculous. The Bloodhound Gang banned in Russia. Not surprised to see that the Bloodhound Gang has been banned anywhere. If you're going to perform in Russia, remember that Big Brother is always watching. Ahead of their festival appearance in Russia, the Bloodhound Gang's bassist, Evil Jared Hasselhoff, shoved a Russian flag down his pants and instructed the crowd not to tell the country's leader, Vladimir Putin. Word got back to Putin anyway, and their festival appearance was swiftly nixed and the gang was sent packing. Yeah, I'm not surprised about that one, to be 100% honest. But I think reading some of these brings us to the big issue is that countries can often just take whatever they want if they don't want a band there and just say, no, you can't play and you can't have your music here and stuff like that. Sometimes some of these things do seem logical. I mean, when we look at the Rolling Stones situation, it's like, I mean, yeah, their law is that if you have a drug charge, you can't get into the country, and that's what it was. But a lot of these, with the music getting banned, is due to religious context or countries feeling like they're not respected and stuff like that. When it comes to stuff like this, people like censoring music or protesting music or trying to ban music, it doesn't even come down to the countries themselves. It can come down to groups of people. Like when I toured with a Christian band, like a Christian metal band back in the day, we had local churches protest their show, and their logic was that this band isn't Christian enough. They're a bad example for other Christians, so our kids shouldn't be listening to their music. So at the end of the day, I think we can just see that people will get pissed about anything and just try and cancel. I mean, we can see people have been canceling shit since 1960. This isn't a new thing. Sunkiss just said the Stones having their issues makes a lot of sense, but the bans on religious content or corrupting the children just seems stupid to me. I mean, yeah, in my opinion, I agree with that. I mean, we do know that, I don't know every country's rules, but at least in the US, there is supposed to be a separation of church and state, but there are definitely some countries in the world where a lot of their practices and a lot of their laws and everything have been developed with a lot of religion and religious beliefs behind that. So, which I don't agree with, but I'm not from any of those countries. And then corrupting the children has been, it's an argument in today's times for sure. I mean, even when I was a kid, the big, you know, like the satanic panic and all that stuff, like even in the US, there's always been people that are like, music is corrupting our kids. That's why we got parental advisories on our CDs, which only made us want to listen to CDs more. But anyways, yeah, this was kind of what I was expecting. It was more, you know, deemed to lyrical content and stuff like that. But it was interesting to see that even somebody like Mick Jagger was banned from a country for things on his record. And that is a constant thing that we do battle on tour. Like, if you want to tour for a living, it is very important that you do not have a serious criminal record. Or if you do have one, you need to talk to a lawyer and get that shit worked out, because that will prevent you from taking a lot of gigs. I know people that lose tours based on the fact that they either can't get into a country or that there are a chance that they can't. Because even with a chance that you can't, you could lose out on a job for sure. But thank you to everybody on Twitch that hung out for a little bit and talked about this. And if you're watching on YouTube later, you can join us on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/TankTheTech. And I'm on a ton of different social media. At TankTheTech is my handle on pretty much anything. Everything, rather. But until next time, wherever you are in the world, be safe, be kind to each other, and I will see you guys soon.